Hi, scholars. So this video is just going to be showing you how you might brainstorm for your free write. For a reason, I'm not going to show you how to free write, and that's because free write is meant to be really loose. You're meant to do it in whatever way makes the most sense to you and to just try to keep writing for as long as you can. So I'm not going to show you that. It doesn't matter how I do it. It matters how you do it. But brainstorming, there are some questions that you can ask yourself that can be helpful. The first and most important question that you should ask yourself, no matter what topics you come up with, though, is like, can I write about this for 15 or 20 minutes? Can I stick with it? And a lot of topics won't work for that reason. And there might be many reasons why the answer is no to that question. So it could be no because like I have one or two things to say about it and nothing else. But it might also be no, and this is where I would be really kind to yourself. If the answer is no because you're not ready to talk about it, if the answer is no because it's too hard for you to think about right now, that you're not in a healthy space to talk about a topic that's more challenging, that's okay. Give yourself that grace. Talk about something else. If you're ready to talk about challenging subjects, do it. This is the space. But if not, if it's not something that you need me or Ms. McGee to see, respect that. Respect that for yourself and choose something else. So number one question you should ask yourself is, can I or do I want to write about this for a long time in this context? But the other questions you could ask yourself are a couple of different things. And one thing before we even get started that I should have said earlier is like, don't feel like you have to hand draw all these topics. I type way faster than I write, especially on my like little laptop. So don't feel like you need to be drawing squiggly lines. However, if it helps you to draw, by all means do. But I'm not going to because I'll think faster if I'm not trying to like squiggle. So first, is there anything on my mind right now that I would want to talk about? And there's a lot on my mind right now. I think there's a lot on everybody's mind, right? There's COVID-19 and the way that it's affecting my job, my life, my family, my loved ones, all of you. Effect on my life and the lives of people I love. There's obviously like the protests in downtown LA are really close to me. The national news, police brutality, racist police, so much that I could write about there. The question again is like, am I ready to try to sit down with that? So those are probably the top two things on my mind, to be honest. Then I might think a little differently. You can ask yourself, like, is there anything in your surroundings that you would be interested in writing about? Sometimes that if you're feeling really stuck, if you feel like you're stopped up and you're like, I don't know where to begin, just try describing the area around you, and that might lead you down a really interesting place. I think about how the room I'm in right now, towards the front of my apartment, looks over the freeway, and there's sirens a lot, and there's helicopters constantly, and you can actually see protesters, which is really cool, walking down the street. But then there's also the back of my house is more of like an enclosed garden. And it could be interesting to write about how like there's sort of two worlds going on, right? There's your private world. We're in quarantine. We're staying with our families. We're close. And that can be really nice. But it's also like right up against the outer world where so much is going on. So that like contrast of public, private space might be a good way to do it. I can write about my dog Pepper, who's probably the only happy little creature that I know right now. She's like living her best life. Probably up to my surroundings. So, and the third question I would ask yourself, again, if you're stuck, you don't have to ask yourself this at all, is like, is there a genre of writing that you haven't tried that you'd be interested in trying? And this can combine with this other stuff, right? Like, I really like to use poetry to brainstorm. You certainly don't have to, or to free write. A play could be interesting. Trying to write it as like an op-ed or a letter. Be a letter to the mayor. And then I can actually send it. So if you're feeling like, what am I doing in this lit lesson with all this stuff going on in the world, try writing a letter that you can actually email out to an official or Mr. Coe or to whoever you think will implement change. Don't feel like you have to write some little like diary entry if what you want to write is something bigger than that or something more public. Maybe even like a poster. Yeah. So there we have it. That's a really quick example of a brainstorm. See if on the next slide, I'll share the questions that I asked myself to help, but hopefully this helped you. Remember, if it's helpful to make a list like this, awesome. If it's helpful to draw for you, great. If you want to doodle like you did for the sketch notes and send it to me and Ms. Mickey, that's totally fine too. However, helps you get those creative juices flowing. And remember, as always, before you make a decision about what you're going to free write, ask yourself, what can I actually write about for 15 minutes? Where will I not get stuck or feel like I've run out of ideas? So I hope that you really enjoyed today. I hope that you use this as a space to process some of what's going on, but know that no matter what you choose, stay loose and don't get mad at yourself if what you write isn't exactly what you wanted. That's not what a free write is about. Good luck.